Hello YouTube friends, this is Fossilsaurus. I'm coming at you with a unboxing. It's one of the ones that I of course have done before, so it's not a new unboxing, but nonetheless, let's get started. Massive box, you can't see the sides. I'm actually I guess this is the top. We'll pretend you can see this. You know what? Let me just open the box off the screen. It'll be to everybody's benefit. Okay. When I opened it, this was the view of the top. I'm just going to do this section by section. It's still too big. So, let's pretend I open it. This is what you see next. Then I will lift that aside. And then there's this. Okay. Now, let me get this out of here. And let's just start with this. In case anybody wasn't sure that this was sold or not. Oh, it doesn't say sold, never mind. Okay. What we have here, in case you can't tell, is 3 vertebrae. Beautiful vertebrae. Both sides are beautiful. This side you can see the process a little bit more, or the I'm sorry, the neural arches. The processes are gone, which is totally understandable because these would stick out like that. There's no, I mean, there's ways, but this would, I mean, that would be beyond delicate and so hard to transfer. Here's the neural arches you can see again on this side. Not as easy to see though. So this is from not just a plesiosaur, but the big daddy of plesiosaurs. This is from an elasmosaur. If you know anything about plesiosaurs, the elasmosaurs are the poster child for plesiosaurs. They are the biggest one, the one with the crazy longest neck, the one that you generally see in pictures and in lots of videos and stuff like that. So this is very awesome. I love it. Plesiosaurs in general, and especially, truly, specifically elasmosaurs. I knew the name Elasmosaurus and what they were as early as I knew what a plesiosaur was, and they have always been my favorite. Even since I was like, I wouldn't have thought it would be this young, but apparently there's little like clues that I can put together to find out when, like, what age I was at the time, and apparently 2 years old I was already obsessed with dinosaurs. And even though these aren't dinosaurs, I didn't know that at the time. They were all marine reptiles, pterosaurs, so they were all just dinosaurs to me. But ever since the start, plesiosaurs, and especially elasmosaurs, have been my favorite. And they are still, I don't know if they are still my favorite, but they are definitely tied for my favorite now, if they are not my actual favorite. Now, a lot of plesiosaur remains, because of the necks, especially elasmosaur remains, end up being groups of vertebrae together, and I'm sure you can imagine exactly why. It's because, like, the vast majority of their body is a long vertebrae-filled neck, and of course there's vertebrae the rest of the body too, but a huge amount of their body is nothing but vertebrae. These are actually, it's very cool that these are in a row still. So these are actually the ones that were right next to each other. A lot of times you will just get a clump a haphazard clump of vertebrae, and you can assume that the ones there are probably, they were probably close to each other, but when you have a clump, that means it all fell apart and came down, so you can't say that these were all next to each other. I mean, yes, you can with mine, but I'm just saying, like, with other ones, you can't just say, like, oh, these are all, like, because they're in the same clump, they're all next to each other. But no, this you can tell that these were, I mean, that was the neck right there. This was the top of the neck, and this would have been the throat down here. So awesome. Like I said, I've loved Plesiosaurus. Now this, a lot of times people will mislabel Plesiosaurs or Elasmosaurus as being from Kemkem, the Kemkem Basin, which is one of the, probably the most popular Moroccan site, even though Morocco is full of some of the more amazing popular Cretaceous sites. But the Kemkem Basin is a freshwater river site. There were freshwater plesiosaurs, but they were especially rare overall. And I believe that there has been like a plesiosaur found in the Kemkem Basin, not an Elasmosaur. And it may have just been one ever found so far. I'm not entirely sure. But these guys, the Caribga mine, which is also called the... yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. I'll write it up here now. Al-Adoub something, I don't know, is probably, definitely in Morocco, and one of worldwide the most famous site for Cretaceous marine. The Western Interior Seaway. It must have been pretty close to being on par. I would guess that the Western Interior Seaway sites are probably richer in marine reptiles, but the Caribga mine, that's got to be a close second if it's not about the same. I would doubt that it's richer, but it's got, I mean, they're both amazing sites for all kinds of marine reptiles of the Cretaceous. Plesiosaurs, mosasaurs, ichthyosaurs and pliosaurs and stuff were pretty darn rare at that point, but I believe that they have been found there as well. Now, Elasmosaurs, from what they're known, they can, I believe it's 46 feet is the estimated length, or the length that they're thought to get. So, just on a little tangent, that means obviously, since that has to be average, that means that they had to have gotten like at least 60 feet in real life, and the largest one ever probably got longer than that. But anyway, very cool. Even among plesiosaurs, these guys had particularly gnarly, vicious teeth. Now, these guys would only eat small prey. I mean, it had to be small enough to fit down their throat. Like, even though they could easily fit a person in their stomach, there's no way they could get a person through their jaws and down their throat. Maybe down their throat at the bottom part, but there's no way they could eat something that size. Now, another misconception is their neck. It is nowhere near as flexible as people think. A lot of this stems from paleo art, old school paleo art, really awesome stuff. Like, it's really fun to look at nowadays. Which, I mean, from, I don't know when that was, but from the early, like, 20th century, before people really knew much, and they would just draw however they would think they would be. They'd draw the plesiosaurs with necks all twisty and stuff like that, like a snake. Plesiosaurs had very stiff necks. They could move them like that, and like from the side to side and from up and down like that, but they couldn't curve them. It was just way too stiff. They did not have the ability. They could lift it out of the water, but just slightly. They couldn't hold it straight up. They couldn't support the weight of a huge neck being above water, so they could probably stick the outermost, or the like last, I don't know, however many feet or yards, meters, whatever, above water with the head up, but they couldn't have it up for any amount of time or any real distance. So some people may think that makes them not quite as cool looking or as cool as they thought, but and maybe, I mean, if that's something that you thought was particularly cool about them, then yeah, maybe they aren't quite as cool as you thought, but and there is something taken away to the fact that they're not these crazy snaky necked things that could grab and swallow a person down. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news if you didn't know that before. But they're still just absolutely incredible, unique animals. The best example of how to describe them, including the movement, is like a very long-necked turtle. If you think about it, that's exactly what they look like, just a shellless, super long-necked turtle. And their flippers very unique to any animal in history, except for turtles. The way they move their flippers, it's very unique. And they've done studies on pliosaur and plesiosaur flippers and found that that's generally how it would work. And it worked very well. I mean, the way turtles swim is very, very good for them. These guys could probably move much faster than turtles. In fact, they definitely could move much faster than turtles, including or especially in short bursts. Now, these guys were so huge, you might think that they were top predators. Well, like I said, they could only eat small things like fish, so they wouldn't have been top predators. But you would think that they wouldn't have much to fear. But where they come from also has some of the real top predators, like some of the largest mosasaurs in their heyday of the Jurassic, late Jurassic. Their own relatives, pliosaurs, were a main predator of them. Plesiosaurs, including large plesiosaurs, were probably targets for any large pliosaurs and mosasaurs. So these guys, even the massive 45, 50, 55, 60 foot ones, especially since most of the length with his neck, you can't, like a 50-foot elasmosaur and a 50-foot mosasaur, I mean, it still wouldn't even be comparable, because the elasmosaur's body would still be like a tiny fraction of that length, and the rest is just totally vulnerable neck with a tiny little head on it. So even for all their size, they were not as dangerous, and they just weren't what you might expect them to be as far as their level of predator, or even just ability to not be predated on, which I think is very sad, because I really love them, and I would love for them to not be preyed on, especially be like a major part of things' diets. But they probably were. Probably for the largest mosasaurs and pliosaurs, they were probably targeted as much as possible, because even though the body's pretty small on them, that would still be like an easy meal. And the meal, even though it was mostly neck, it's still a significant body for a large animal to take apart and snack on. And then like all the other sharks and stuff around. There are so many fossils of plesiosaur bones with predation marks on them, like on the neck and the flippers and so on. It's really sad. If you really like them, it's really sad. Poor guys and girls. Pet them on the back of the neck there. Poor things. I have no way of personally telling how big this one was, but I mean, this from the top of the, like where the skin would be from the neural arches to below the, I mean, it's more than a foot from the back of the neck to the bottom of the neck or the throat. It's well over a foot from this for this animal. So this is definitely a massive animal. From the position of the processes, I could figure out exactly where on the neck or body this is. Which this actually might not be the neck. This could easily be the body, or even close to the tail. But I don't think so. I think this is probably towards the base of the neck, or possibly right where the body starts. But because of how far down this process is, and it would have been pointing down like that, I think very likely it's around the base of the neck, which would make sense with how tall, like how big of a part of the neck it is. In order for it to be that big, if it was like towards the head, this would be one of the biggest ever known. So it couldn't be something like that. But it's very cool. I love these guys.